here I am.
I see that. But who are you?
Said Theodor Herzl.
You are puzzled. But you see, as long ago as 1882, I predicted your arrival. Now, I am going to help you.
The man who came to Herzl's home uninvited and unannounced on March 10, 1896, was Reverend William Hechler, chaplain to the British Embassy in Vienna. It was modern Zionism's first encounter with Christian Zionism. Hechler had heard of Herzl's book Der Judenstaat and rushed over. He made quite an impression on Herzl.
He is an incredible figure when looked at with the eyes of a Viennese Jewish journalist. He considers our departure for Jerusalem to be close at hand and showed me the coat pocket in which he will stow his big Palestine map when we shall be riding together around the Holy Land. Hechler declares my movement to be a biblical one, even though I go about it rationally.
Hechler would provide invaluable service to Herzl, who was acutely aware that he needed access to the halls of power.
I must put myself into direct and publicly known relations with a responsible or non-responsible ruler, that is, with a minister of state or a prince. Then the Jews will believe in me and follow me.
Hechler, who had tutored the children of the Grand Duke of Baden, introduced Herzl to the Grand Duke, which led to meetings with the Duke's nephew, Kaiser Wilhelm. The Kaiser was initially enthusiastic about Herzl's plan and promised to approach the Ottoman Sultan. When the Sultan said no, the Kaiser lost interest. Still, Herzl had achieved one of his goals. His well-publicized meetings with the Kaiser in Constantinople and Jerusalem gave Herzl stature in the eyes of Jews. As Hechler had foreseen, he toured the Holy Land with Herzl, becoming one of Herzl's closest allies and one of only 3 non-Jewish delegates at the First Zionist Congress in 1897. As Herzl lay on his deathbed in 1904, he permitted only one visitor outside his own family. That was William Hechler. The next great Zionist leader was Chaim Weizmann, who went to England to pursue a career in chemistry the year Herzl died. If he had gone elsewhere, the Jewish national home might never have obtained international legitimacy. Zionist histories have made much of Weizmann's personal role in bringing about the 1917 Balfour Declaration. What these histories often overlook is the ready ear he found in England, thanks to the rich tradition of Christian Zionism. It is noteworthy that 7 of the 9 Gentile members of the British cabinet had been raised in evangelical homes or later embraced evangelicalism. As David Lloyd George, Prime Minister at the time, said,
"We had been trained even more in Hebrew history than in the history of our own country. I could tell you all the kings of Israel, but I doubt whether I could have named half a dozen of the kings of England, and not more of the kings of Wales."
Lloyd George's foreign minister, Arthur Balfour, also grew up as an evangelical in Scotland. In a reprise of Herzl's last days, when Balfour lay dying in 1930, he allowed only one individual outside his own family to visit, Chaim Weizmann. Balfour's niece records the scene.
No words passed between them, or could pass, for Balfour was very weak, and Dr. Weizmann much overcome. But I, who saw the look with which Balfour moved his hand and touched the bowed head of the other, have no doubt at all that Balfour realized the nature of the emotion for which the first and only time showed itself in his sick room.
Unfortunately, in Palestine, Britain's military administrators were of a different breed. They were hostile to Zionism and passed along their hostility to the civil administration that followed. In 1920, Richard Meinertzhagen, a British officer stationed in Palestine, wrote in his diary,
"Zionism need not waste its thanks on British officials out here. They have all worked against it, hoping to crush it at its birth."
Yet, Britain would still provide important Zionist supporters. On the political side, there was Josiah Wedgwood, who identified strongly with his Puritan ancestors and their affinity for Jews. A Labour Member of Parliament, he was unrelenting in his criticism of Britain's anti-Zionist policies. On the front lines in Palestine was an eccentric military genius, Among the Jews of Palestine, he became known simply as Hayedid, the friend. His name was Orde Charles Wingate. His parents were religious members of the Plymouth Brethren. Orde embraced its view that the return of the Jewish people to their land was a Christian religious duty. A gifted soldier, in 1936 Wingate was assigned to Palestine as a staff officer. When the Arab revolt broke out that year, he set up what came to be known as Special Night Squads, armed groups of Jewish volunteers. These became the training ground for the future leaders of the Israel Defense Forces. Moshe Dayan, who was to eventually become Israeli Chief of Staff, said,
"He taught us everything we know."
Wingate was too close to the Zionists for British tastes and was removed from his command. Promoted during World War II to Major General, he led an innovative guerrilla campaign against the Japanese in Burma. Shortly before his death, Wingate wrote to his wife of his hope to return with her to the place and the work we love, and included the famous line from Psalms 137, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning." Dying in the Burma campaign, Wingate would never realize his mystical belief that he would lead a Jewish army in the conquest of Palestine. His contribution was nonetheless profound. Wingate identified with the biblical judge Gideon and even placed his headquarters in the area where Gideon fought. Gideon's troops would cry as they went to battle, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon." Wingate taught the Jews again how to wield it.